Oh, hello. Welcome to another episode of Recollections of Battle, the series where I try and dimly remember a game that I've played earlier this week. Today I actually played this game an hour or so ago, so I should have a decent job. I do a decent job remembering it, but I've got my phone here with loads of pictures that I've taken, so hopefully, I can talk you through what happened in the game. It's going to be another episode of Shatterpoint at the moment, because gaming-wise, that's what I want a bit of a kick on. This time, I'm playing the same list as last week's or 2 weeks ago's episode. So it's Count Dooku, General Grievous, Count Dooku with the B1s and Kraken, and General Grievous with the Magna Guard and Kalani. Right versus Zimbad. Zimbad was playing two squads. So it was playing Darth Maul and the Mandalorian Super Commandos and Gar Saxon. And in the other team, he was playing the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan Kryze and the Clan Kryze Mandalorians. So taking advantage of that errata, which updated the era on Bo-Katan and the Clan Kryze Mandalorians. So this is the screen we're going to look at for the rest of the video. You can see that I've taken a photograph of the game board because we don't have maps available, and I've tried to put on these circles that represent the units. So from the bottom, on the left, you've got the two Magna Guard, MA, General Grievous in the middle, and Kalani there on the right. And then Group 2, you've got the two B1s on the left, Dooku in the middle, and Kraken on the right. At the top, from the left, you've got the Super Commandos on either side of the squad, Gar Saxon in the middle, and Maul at the back. And then at the second squad, you've got the, again, it's the two Clan Kryze Mandalorians on either side, Bo-Katan in the front, and the Mandalorian at the back. I'm going to be saying the word Mandalorian a lot until it loses all meaning. So once again, we're playing shifting priorities. It's just what we both wanted to play. We both like shifting priorities. I've never actually, don't think I've ever played anything that isn't shifting priorities, despite owning the other two currently available decks. So when I go to play in a tournament on Saturday, I'm forced to play other missions. It's all going to be interesting for me, isn't it? But there we go. So Zimbad had first turn, and his first draw was Bo-Katan Kryze. Now, when she activates, he gets to activate another Mandalorian. So the first thing he actually did was he moved the Super Commando up to around here. Okay. And then Bo-Katan did a move action to come out to here. And then spending a force to jump up to here. And then hunker. Right. So getting that middle point straight away. Of course, you can't actually score the points the first time round, but yeah, that's where we ended up with that. So next came my activation, and I initially drew the B1s. Then I took advantage of their ability to pay a force and place them on the bottom of the order deck. And then I was fortunate enough to draw Kalani, which is precisely the unit that I wanted. So I'd positioned my models actually effectively this time so that Kalani was within 4 of all the droid supports. So all 4 droid supports now got to make a free dash. So the Magna Guard went up to here and here. Okay, these B1s came over to here. And then these B1s, they ended up around there. Now, and then I pushed Kalani up with a move to here. Took a shot at Bo-Katan. Did, a damage, I think, maybe 1 damage, but wasn't able. I was fishing for the ability to use tactical network for free. It wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. But I then paid the force for tactical network, and the B1s were able to use the ingress point. We decided this time around the ingress points would you'd be able to use the long ladders and get off at the middle or the top, because reading the rulebook, Zimbab came up with the idea that if you agreed it with your opponents, ingress points could have multiple ways to jump off them. So we let the B1s come up to here using the ingress points, and then I was on 2 of the objectives because I had the one at the bottom, my home objective, and I had this one up here, so I was able to capture 2 objectives, which was pretty cool. And then we have the next separatist turn, and I'm rapidly trying to scan through my images to understand what happened next. I believe, yeah, it was the Clan Kreese Mandalorians. So this one came round here and didn't really accomplish anything. Okay, there may have been some shooting at the B1s or at Kalani. I think maybe some wounds off Kalani is what happened there. But of more kind of note, these ones came up here using their move and their jump, took some shots at the B1s, got pushes, okay, got to follow up on the pushes, and took that point off me there. So that's now a 2-point score for, sorry, a 3-point score, because of course they got their home objective as well. So a 3-point score for the Mandalorian side, which was pretty good, pretty good. And then I got the next turn, and I believe what happened next was I was able to activate Kraken. Yeah. So Kraken comes up here. Okay. Takes a shot at these Mandalorians. Sorry, Kraken moves. Kraken, having moved, orders the B1s to dash. Right, so I dashed up these B1s to here. Okay, and these B1s I think technically dashed to about here, but because Zimbad decided that we were going to have this ramp, they don't look like they're up there on my photo, but the B1s there were about there. Okay, and then root toot toot. So this, they couldn't quite. I think Kraken then took a pot shot at the Clan Kreese. They got pushed back. Could have been that the B1s did a little bit of shooting as well. But one way or the other, you ended up with the Clan Kreese Mandalorians getting pushed back to about here. And then this then became my objective, which was pretty cool. So I'm now scoring 2, which is pretty good. I think that's what happened. No, I remember what I did. I think this was the big term where what I actually did was the reason those B1s are down there, they didn't move. I used the free move where I can order someone to dash across the map on the Magnas. The Magnas moved up, and then I used Tactical Network to move the B1s up. And I was actually, and I shot this Mandalorian away. I was actually able to claim this turn 3 of the objectives, which was pretty cool. Okay, which was pretty cool. Yes, something like that. And the Mandalorian moves up on some kind of trigger. I think I must have wounded. Yeah, I think all the random shooting at the Clan Kreese Mandalorians must have wounded them at this point, because the Mandalorian manages to move up on some kind of trigger as well. But I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty strong position. Okay. And then the next thing that happened, Zimbad got his Shatterpoint, okay, and he goes for Gar Saxon, okay, and trying to understand what Gar Saxon did. Sorry, Gar Saxon activated, and through a combination of things, I remember he picked Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon moves and jumps and does various Mandalorian things, and ends up here. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think he. Sorry, I know this is unsatisfying because I'm dimly trying to remember and my brain isn't working very well. He hunkers down, and I think he may have then wounded Kraken? Kalani? Or at least playing some shots off. But there must have been more to it than that, because I'm pretty sure that the points didn't. No, maybe that was a turn where Zimbad only scored 2. Yeah, Zimbad must have only scored 2 that turn. So he tried to do something with Gar Saxon, and it didn't really work. So then, for my turn, I drew General Grievous. I mean, Zimbad is still scoring 2 points. He just hasn't taken the 3 off me. So for my turn, I activated General Grievous. Grievous uses his move and his scuttle to wind up here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into melee range with Bo-Katan, but I fired a shot off at her and did a considerable number of wounds. I wasn't too worried because at this point I felt like I was in a pretty commanding position. I was going to score 3 again. Zimbad was going to score 2, so I wasn't that worried. As part of General Grievous's movement, when he activates, I got to move something else. I think this Magna Guard moved up with a dash to about here. Okay, and then that sets us up to go into Zimbad's next turn, and Zimbad got Darth Maul. So Darth Maul, who has 4 speed, remember, and has loads of little tricks. Darth Maul managed to get basically all the way up to, and you can't quite see it on the aerial photograph, all the way up to this objective here, okay, and attacks and pushes back this Magna Guard a little bit, but it's not enough to flip the objective over for Darth Maul. I'm pretty sure those Magna Guard ended up on one wound. And then I feel like I must have drawn my Shatterpoint, and I'm feeling like it's going pretty well for me at this point, right? So really, Zimbad's still only holding these 2 points. So I decided to bring up General Grievous, and I feel like he should have been able to blend Bo-Katan, but the dice just weren't with me. I did move up this Magna Guard as well as part of General Grievous's kind of attacks where he can move somebody up, but he did a few wounds to Bo-Katan, but he couldn't shift her off, and of course, because the Magna Guard's only dashing, it can't get up onto the thing, so that point remains in the hands of Zimbad for now. But it's another round where I'm scoring 3, and Zimbad's really racking up the momentum, the cubes, the black cubes, because I'm doing really well, and he's constantly not getting it to swing quite back into his side of the tracker. And then Zimbad activated the Mandalorian, right? And the Mandalorian comes out. And goes somewhere. Sorry, no, that's deeply unexciting. Yeah, that's why I can't see him. So the Mandalorian basically ends up with, again, the moving and the jetpacking. He ends up on this point, right? And takes that one off me. So that is now very much his. So now Zimbad is scoring 3. And I'm pretty sure he would have done some shooting. Various characters of mine became wounded. He did a big shot with his rifle thing. I think at Kalani at that point, and that's when Kalani was wounded. All right. But the important thing is the Mando's up there now. So that's now Zimbad's objective. So now he gets to score the 3, right? And this is where Zimbad gets to push it back. So at the end of that turn, I took a photo of the tracker, right? I've got 3 black cubes at this point, right? And the tracker is just 1 onto my side at the end of Zimbad's turn. And Zimbad has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black cubes. And this was the moment when it started to kind of turn. It started to get away from me a little bit. Okay. Now, I was able to get pretty much the exact miniature I wanted. So I now was able to get Count Dooku. Dooku gets up to here, takes the objective. The Mandalorian, there doesn't look like there's space, but there was. Okay. The Mandalorian gets pushed down to here by Dooku. So now Dooku's up here on the objective. Okay. But it... Yeah. And then I'm scoring 3, right? No, I think I'm now somehow... Yes, I think I'm scoring 3, okay, at this point, but I've still not won it. And then we go around, and Zimbad got his Mandalorian Super Commandos. So this Super Commando back here, which I think have been getting some extra movements from various points. I've temporarily lost track of that Super Commando. One of the Super Commandos, which must logically have been this one, goes up here to support Bo-Katan by sort of flanking behind General Grievous. Okay, and this Super Commando, maybe this stays here on near the objective. I can't actually for the minute work out. I've lost track. I'm sure it'll pop up again. So therefore, Zimbad's now scoring 2 that turn, as far as I can see. Okay, yep. No, unless I miss taking a... Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So then it pops round to me. What did I try and do next? I must have tried to do something. Yeah. Yeah. I got the Magna Guard. This was it. This was supposed to be my big turn. And so I went up with the Magna Guard, 1 to here, and 1 to here. And I was like, I'll move, and then I'll fight, and hopefully I'll push them. Because Magnus have pushes on 1s and 2s, right? And the Magna Guard just whiffed. They just sat there and did nothing. So, yeah, that wasn't particularly helpful in that instance. And at some point, control here has flipped. Zimbad's had this Maul point now for a couple of turns. I'm not sure exactly when. I think at some point he must have just pushed the Magnus away fractionally enough that he claimed it, right? So that's why the points don't quite add up in my head. It's this left point, this Maul Magnus point. Yep. Yep. So that was my big play, but they just failed to do any shoving, even though the dice should have been with me. Okay, and then Sinbad has a turn, and he manages to bring the Mandalorian back up to this point. Okay, and then I'm pretty sure the Mandalorian has he gives someone else a free move, I think, or something of that regard, and Gar gets up here as well. Okay, so Gar's now directly behind the Mandalorian, which is making him definitely really difficult to get rid of. And that's now his point, because he's now got more miniatures on that than I can possibly have, right? Yeah. Can it have been the Mandalorian again? No, it was Gar's activation. And it was Gar who somehow brought the Mandalorian up there with him, I think. And then Gar takes a shot at maybe Kalani, maybe the B1s, maybe it was Kraken, someone in that vague area. But the important thing is both of those figures are up there now, contesting that objective. Okay? Yeah, that's good. And that, I believe, was the struggle for Sinbad. Believe it or not. So even though I had a really strong lead at the start, he just managed to get it off me, which is what usually happens. And it's not even by... It's clogging things up here. And once again, on the right-hand side, sorry, I know you can't see my cursor. And once again, it's my feeling that it's a bit of a struggle to get those B1s up onto the gantries. There's, physically not enough spaces for their bases. Rhymes. Remembering, of course, that you're not allowed to overhang in the slightest in Shatterpoint. That's not a thing that you are allowed to do. Okay, so trying to fathom what happened next. None of the photos I've taken appear to show the game state changing in any way for a little while. Yeah, so that was basically the struggle. And so the next struggle we had, this objective down here was live. Okay, this objective here was live, and this objective back here was live, right? So I think, yeah. This is around the time when he then was able to activate the Mando. Mando goes into Dooku. Dooku ends up down here, right? Dooku is only at this point alive, thanks to spending 3 force to change hits into misses. Okay, so I'd spent a lot of force doing that, which is kind of annoying. And Dooku there has taken 6 damage and a strain, and has been pushed right off the thing. I then managed to get General Grievous by the looks of things. Okay, so Bo-Katan's only on 1 wound. Okay, so what I try to do with Grievous, because I'm hopeful that Grievous will blend something, I tried to kill that Super Commando. Okay, with a full melee attack. I failed. Even though Grievous, if his dice roll well, he should be able to totally mince things. I failed to kill the Super Commando behind Grievous. I was only really trying to wound 2 things and get 2 black cubes, basically. Didn't work out for me. So then, Bo-Katan's on 1 wound. I decided to spend 2 force. Bear in mind, I just spent 3 force keeping Grievous alive, keeping Dooku alive. I decided to spend 2 force, and I've been training your Jedi arts to deal 2 guaranteed damage to Bo-Katan that she can't do anything about. So that wounds Bo-Katan, which is at least something. And then Grievous dashes out of the combat that he's in, okay, and then uses Scuttle to come up to the back here and claim this objective. So I now score. The first round I scored 2 points because I was lucky enough to get. The objective my B1s were already on. Okay, and then in the second round of Struggle 2, I was happy enough to score 3 points. So I was doing rather well at that point. But then, as often happens to me, once again, the wheels of the thing kind of began to fall off. So there was a lot of back and forth. Now we've got to have a Mandalorian activation now, and I'm desperately trying to remember what happened. Struggling a little bit. Oop. And I've just tabbed to the end of the camera, and that wasn't what happened. So let's work it out from first principles. I think it must have been. Honestly, I can't remember. Oh, it was the Super Commandos. So Zimbad was able to react, basically. Wherever this Super Commando had gotten to, the Super Commandos ended up here. And they were able to push back General Grievous. And Zimbad claimed that point. And that was a big thing for him. So I scored that precisely once. And then the next turn, in his next activation, he was able to take that one off me. Because the Super Commandos have got quite ready access to shoves on their flamethrowers. They're a really, really good piece of kit, those Super Commandos. Okay. So then I had a turn, and I'm think whatever happened now, we get bogged down into the right hand flank here for a good long time. Generally, it's me trying to get up onto this point, which keeps rolling as the priority target for a number of times. At one point, Kraken gets up there, up the ingress point, and then I think Gar activates and knocks him off. And at one point, the B1s try and get up for a while, and that's an activation, and then they trying to knock off Mando and Gar, but they can't because B1s don't have shoves very early in their tree. Mando and Gar rolling really well on their defense, the Beskar armor. These B1s got a reposition though, and were able to get up here, right? But still, it's a it's the Mando's point, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then it's basically a lot of brouhaha over that corner. And, the frustrating thing, I guess, about Shatterpoint is sometimes you just don't get the activation, the cards that are going to help you. And I'm using, and I've slightly lost track of the exact order of operations here, but this is basically the state of the table when the game ended, right? I kept my point on the bottom in my deployment zone for pretty well the whole game. After I'd had it one time with General Grievous, I got one activation with General Grievous where I came through and sort of was able to try and attack one of the Super Commandos, but I couldn't get ready to dislodge the other Super Commando. The Magnas had a go. Well, I mean, this Magna, like my last activation of the game, this Magna stayed here fighting Maul because they had nothing better to do. This Magna was able to get down and try to fight a Super Commando, but again, just the dice didn't go in my favour. There was a lot of me trying to do risky plays where the dice just didn't quite give me what I wanted in terms of woundings or shoves. And ultimately, and I have glossed over some bits at the end here. I know it's a little bit unsatisfying for you. I am sorry about that. Ultimately, it was another victory for Zimbad. It was a really close game, and in Struggle 1, he fought it all the way back from where it originally looked really bleak. I'll look for Zimbad's comment in the comments, because I'm sure he'll explain exactly what actually happened towards the end there, where I've sort of run out of steam a little bit. But very much just this feeling that things got very gummed up on that right-hand side in terms of physically couldn't place my miniatures, let alone my large base miniatures. I think at one point I should have remembered that Kraken had Steadfast. I did forget that. That was a misplay on my behalf. Because there was one point where either Gar or the Mandalorian shoves Kraken back off after he's gone up there, and that shouldn't have happened. And that might have made quite a material difference. And, the reason that I'm playing this, the team here over and over and over again, is this is what I'm going to take to a tournament on Saturday, and I at least want to feel like I'm remembering all of my abilities. I at least want to feel like I'm remembering all of my abilities. I am getting a little bit frustrated. I enjoy Shatterpoint a lot at the moment. It's a lot more lightweight and easygoing than Kill Team. And even though I'm also losing continually to Zim, I lose everything. It's fine. The games feel a lot closer. Now, part of that, I guess, is Shatterpoint is engineered to feel much closer. Like, that push-pull of the struggle tracker lets you know that you're making progress, rather than just the opponent saying, "Oh, I've scored all these points," and me going, "Oh, I don't feel like I can ever catch that." I feel a little frustrated though, because it's another game where, Grievous charging into Bo-Katan should have been able to kill Bo-Katan. He just sort of didn't. The Magna Guards should be able to fairly reliably push people off stuff, and they just sort of didn't. And Dooku, he went into the Mandalorian at one point and shoved him, but it wasn't. None of the big, I charge in and hit you with my primary moments feel as epic as they should be, or that I kind of feel like they could be. So maybe I need to stop running primaries like this, where their primary job is just to kill stuff. Maybe I need to start running primaries which have more utility on the card, which isn't relying on your D8 dice pool coming up. But this is definitely the list I'm taking to the tournament. And I'll take it to the tournament and I'll come back with some war stories of, actually, yes, General Grievous charged into this secondary and just did 9 damage. Because he can do that, right? But the old Beskar armor is pretty challenging to get through. It is, and that's one of the strengths of playing Mandalorians, right? So it's not to, that is the cut and thrust and the thrust and parry of the thing. I feel like, again, for the second game in a row, this is a game where the droids have started off really, really strong. I was lucky enough to get onto Kalani, essentially at the start of the game, after just having to bury the B1s, right? Which is, as playing this separatist deck, that the basic order of operations is, if you draw the B1s, you bury them. If you draw either of the primaries, then you just wander up with them, because you can move the primaries and it doesn't spoil anything. If you draw the Kraken, you can reserve him for free. Okay, and so you've got. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get to Kalani, okay? You could easily draw Magna Guard, then reserve them, and then draw either the B1s or Kraken. I mean, I guess the most suboptimal order of operations with this deck is if you draw the Magnas, and then you reserve them, and then you draw the B1s, and you can't reserve them because the Magnas are in the reserve slot, and you need that reserve slot to bury them. But anything else, is pretty cool, right? If you draw the B1s, you bury them, then you've got a chance of getting basically, if you pull either of the primaries or secondaries first draw, you're happy, because you're trying to get that Kalani before you move either of your droid supports, and so that usually happens. It's not going to happen every time, but that kind of little thing of getting a whole pile of early game dashes usually does happen, and the sooner the better, and it happened really soon. So get that forward momentum with the list, but then I just find it difficult to capitalise on it. And part of it is that my big stabby primaries always seem to be somehow a bit pillow-fisted, is it just bad dice luck? I don't know. Like, the way people talk about Dooku and Grievous online, they should just be slaughtering all before them, but for me it never seems to quite land that way. And then on the other hand, you've got the B1s that are very difficult to actually apply. They themselves aren't very good. They can stand on a point, yep, and they are extra bodies that you can move around, and they're worth having. But it'd be nice to get the B2s into the list. And then it's, what do you change? You can drop, you could change up. You could drop Dooku and change him for Ventress, say. Or if you really like Dooku, you could drop Grievous. You could even change up Grievous for Cad Bane is something I'm considering. And then you can have Cad Bane, Kalani, and the B2s in that squad. And then Grievous, Kraken, and the Magnus in the other. And so things like that might be really interesting to try. But I've got the tournament on Saturday, so I'm going to take this list for the tournament on Saturday, see how it goes. And then I'll mix it up a little bit after that. Because, I don't know, maybe it's just 2 games in the trot where my primaries have thrown lousy dice. It does happen. We do play dice games on this channel. So, yeah, there we go. Let me know if you've got any feedback and suggestions. Obviously, I know it's not a perfect battle report. I've definitely glossed over things. Especially, I've glossed over it. It's very easy in Shatterpoint to care about positioning and shoves and to gloss over a lot of the time. Like, there's a lot of time where Zimbad especially is very good about going, okay, my secondary objective is to try and fish for wounds, and he sort of plinks shots off things, and I don't always remember when. 3 of my characters, by the end of the game, Kraken, Kalani, and I think the B1s were all wounded at various times, right? So there's a lot of just random shooting that I've glossed over a little bit, but I hope you got a kind of a strategic overview of the game. But I'm very interested to let me know about, obviously, is the table that you see in front of you, you play Shatterpoint, is that typical for how you'd set up a Shatterpoint table? I genuinely have no idea. Obviously, not with the weird ramped piece of terrain, that was a mistake. We won't be doing that again. It was too steep to place miniatures on, and it was all kinds of hassle, but we just thought it'd be funny. Zimbad was cracking a joke, basically, that I, after the last game, complained that my B1s couldn't get anywhere, and he was like, oh, well, it'll have this B1 accessibility ramp, which was, yeah. We try not to take things too seriously. It's funny, I get a bit introspective because I tend to lose games, and therefore I want to try and work out where I'm going wrong and try and improve. And obviously there are things to improve, like I'm not going to forget Kraken's inability to be shoved off things again, and that genuinely may have made a difference. But I would love to understand why my primaries feel just that bit pillow-fisted. Maybe it's the primaries that, I'm happy with the droid engine, right? But the thing is, for all that thematically Grievous and Dooku fit obviously really well with what the droids are doing, they don't actually contribute that much into the general shenanigans of the team. They're generally going off and doing their own things. Yes, they can hand out the odd dash, right? But yeah, maybe there's something to tweak and change there going forward into the future. Anyway, I've rambled for long enough. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know that mostly I've got a Kill Team audience, and so I'm very lucky if anyone's actually stayed this late to the end of this video to watch the rambling and the crackling. But if you have, thank you very much. I want to say I'm away this weekend, so I should have another video that I'm hoping to get recorded and get saved into the bank. That'll be a Shower Thoughts video. And then once I come back, obviously, Warhammer World Open Day and the Shatterpoint tournament I'm going to, but all these things are going to have to be reviewed as well. Do like, subscribe, comment, etc. Consider joining the Discord if you can. And a big thanks to all my members who love Shatterpoint so much, especially my two my 2 highest tier members who probably haven't watched this far, but in case you are watching, thank you Nightfall, thank you Sam Troth for your subscription at the highest tier. It does mean a real lot to me. And this is me. That's about the end of the video, so hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time for my dimly recalled recollections of battle. Bye-bye. Bye.